Hey guys, I'm the Hollywood Digerati, and on today's episode, we're gonna recap and review the second episode of the Assassination of Gianni Versace, the episode titled Manhunt. So let's get right to it. So right off the bat, we notice that this episode is totally different from episode 1. It has a much darker tone. It's like much more serious, and I'm like, wait a second, is this the same show? I mean, the tone is so much darker. And you can tell from the very beginning when they show Gianni Versace and Ricky Martin in the hospital, and we learn that Versace, basically he has AIDS or HIV. So it like starts off with like super serious subject matter. They show us an intimate chat between Donatella Versace and Gianni Versace, speaking about what's going to happen to the Versace company after he dies, who's going to take over, who's going to run it, because basically it's Gianni Versace's vision, and how can Donatella carry that? We then see Donatella's anger come out at Ricky Martin, and she's basically really mad at him, saying to him, he wasn't enough for you, with this life, this house, it wasn't enough for you. And she's basically blaming him for him getting sick, saying it's your fault, you brought over all these male prostitutes and all these guys, and it's your fault this happened. Which isn't like that. Gianni Versace, he was the third person in these threesomes, so it's not all of Ricky Martin's fault. It takes three to tango in these situations. But the absolute worst thing Donatella says to Ricky Martin is, you didn't give him anything. You never gave him children. You gave him nothing, and that's why I do not respect you. And it's like Ricky Martin, Antonio, was giving Gianni Versace his love. Isn't that something? Isn't that like the biggest thing you can give another person? Your love? I mean, how blind is she? They then show us some shots on the beach where Gianni Versace and Ricky Martin are walking, and Gianni's complaining how it's so hard to create when you don't feel physically well. We now time travel to right after Gianni Versace was killed, and we see Donatella Versace, bothered by the paparazzi. The paparazzis are all over her, and she's bringing a suit to the funeral home or the church or wherever the body's being kept. We also see this powerful scene where they show us Gianni Versace being cremated, and then Donatella getting the ashes and putting them into this beautiful golden or brass box, and they put really sad music. That was actually very touching and a powerful moment. So after the first commercial break, the story shifts gears, and we now focus on Andrew Cunanan and his history. And thank God, because up to this point the show was becoming really like sad and depressing. But and I know it's a show about a murder, it's kind of supposed to be that way, but it was nice to get a break from that. And so they show us Andrew Cunanan riding some pickup truck through God knows where, and then he heads into a Walmart. They show us Andrew Cunanan lifting license plates and basically just being Andrew. Then they show us the mandatory establishing shots of Miami. So they show all these beautiful areas of Miami Beach. We then see Andrew arriving at this hotel called the Normandy Plaza, which from the outside looks pretty nice. It's like literally on the beach, but inside it's kind of like run down and dilapidated. He goes up to the front counter, and he shows a fake passport, and on the fake passport it says his name is Kurt Demars, but yet it's a French passport, and he says he's from Nice, and he says he's a fashion student that has made his way to Miami specifically to have conversation with Gianni Versace, because he's open to speaking with young students. Some BS like that. So that very night that he arrives in Miami, he goes and takes a walk in front of Gianni Versace's mansion, also called House of Versace. And he sees the house, he sees the gate, he walks up to it, and he tries to like open the door of the gate to get into the house. It's like, what is he thinking? Like, who does that? We also see how the FBI was handling the case, or should I say not handling the case, because they really dropped the ball on this. Some of my favorite parts of the episode are when Andrew's being his super ultra fake charming self. Like when he got that upgrade to the room with the ocean view, and he said, I don't want to be a pain, but as a child growing up in Saint Jean Ferrat, or whatever he says, I always had an ocean view, and could you upgrade me? It's like, I just love that. Like, he just is able to turn on that other person on like a switch so easy. And from the balcony of that new room is where Ronnie is introduced. And right off the bat, he's lying to Ronnie, saying he lost the love of his life this year, he lost his best friend this year, and Versace proposed to him, all in the same year. And Andrew further ingratiates himself to Ronnie by saying whatever money he makes from escorting, he'll split it 50-50 with Ronnie, by saying, I look after my friends. We are then shown one of the most disturbing sex scenes that has ever been shown on a TV show. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Honestly, I thought that old guy was a goner. I really was like, okay, he's gonna die. We then time travel to July 6, 1997, and we see Donatella and Gianni Versace having an argument, specifically about runway models and fashion and trends. Heroin chic models are in. But Gianni Versace's trying to tell Donatella that you don't become an original by copying other people. You have to do what your instincts tell you to do and not be a copy of something else. But Donatella doesn't get that. She wants, to go with the trends. And they're like, okay, well, let's see who wins. Let's see who gets more applause. And of course, Gianni Versace's, dresses and models, they get the real accolades. They then show us more of Andrew Cunanan and his love affair with the tape. And they show him like taping his hair, but with that crazy real duct tape, the gray one, the one that would rip the hair off your scalp. It's like, that is so not believable. I'm sorry, guys at FX, that is not believable. It's like, what gay man would do that to his hair? Towards the end of the episode, we see how Ricky Martin, is changing, and he wants to have basically like a real marriage with Gianni Versace, even though there's no gay marriage at that time. And in the very last scenes, we see Andrew Cunanan leaving, the hotel and leaving Ronnie behind. But Ronnie's like, hey, aren't you gonna, pay your half of the hotel? And he does. He actually gives him money. And he's like, are you even my friend? And he's like, if they ask you, you'll say no. And the very last scene of the show is a scene at a bar called Twist. They show Versace and Ricky Martin there, and then Andrew, he also goes in there. They show Andrew talking to some guy that's dancing there, and the guy's like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, I'm a serial killer. And I was like, it's kind of funny because, a lot of people, they lie by telling the truth, because sometimes it's the easiest way to hide something is to put it in plain sight. So my verdict on this episode is that it was great. It was totally different from the first episode. It had a much darker tone, which is actually kind of good. And I was kind of worried. I was like, how am I gonna make this video fun and entertaining? I'm totally looking forward to next week's episode and whatever craziness is coming up. And I'm sure you guys are too. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm the Hollywood Digerati, and I'm out.